Okay, today we'll discuss on data migration or data conversions in SAP. What is a data conversion? What are the techniques available in SAP for data migration? Okay, so we'll discuss
Okay.
the topic today. So what is data conversion or data migration in SAP's context? Simple, migrating non-SAP data to SAP.
SAP.
So when this data migration comes into picture,
When any organization installs some
yeah,
new system.
when they are see actually in these recent system installations and conversions, so there are a lot of advanced tools available for database migrations, data migration. We have in S4 HANA migration, they use some tool, SUM tool, that will migrate database other even the complete database data into SAP S4 HANA. And there are few limitations, but in general, if we need to create any bulk data in SAP, so we can use data migration techniques. I'll give you one example. So in your organization, before implementing SAP or SAP S4 HANA, your sales order process, your purchase order process, creating purchase orders, creating invoice, creating bills are going to be handled in a third party system. We can also call it as legacy system. Legacy system, third party system, non SAP system, all these are systems which are not related to SAP, which are which not which are not running on SAP. Okay, since we are talking in the SAP context, so legacy system in the sense non SAP system, third party system also non SAP system.
Non-SAP.
So when the organization creating all this data in some non SAP applications, so what is the advantage of SAP?
Better integration to
Integration,
run the
right? Better
business.
better integration, and SAP is a single source of data,
Single.
right? Single source of your complete business data. You don't need to go and check in multiple systems to check your business status, to check your organizational data, right? For your entire organizational business transactions, SAP is the single source, right? So once SAP is installed or implemented, till now all your sales orders, purchase orders, billing documents are created in non-SAP systems, right? How
Yes, sir.
we need to create them in SAP, how we need to migrate them into SAP, because when you install, what you can find in the SAP tables? Nothing, empty tables.
Empty.
Functional will do the functional configuration, like creating material types, industry sectors, uh, sales order types, purchase order types. They'll create configurations, but what about the transactional data? No transactions. Transactions will be empty. If you go and check the VBAK table, you can't find any records, right? Because it's newly implemented. When implementation is completed, once SAP is in live, so the business users who's going to create the sales orders, purchase orders, right? They'll start using S4 HANA or SAP. Then only transactions will create one by one, right? But what about the past transactions, pending orders, pending bills, pending purchase orders? They are all in legacy systems, right?
Yes, sir.
So we need that past data also in SAP because at least we need to maintain 1 or 2 years of data, sales orders, purchase orders. Also, we need records or transactions which are currently in processing. They are not completed. We need to check that orders, right, in SAP, but they are in legacy systems. So how to convert that legacy system data into SAP? We use data
Data
migration
conversion.
technique. Where you create sales orders in SAP,
VA01.
VA01. Let's say there are only 10 sales orders in the legacy system, maybe 100 sales orders in the legacy system. There is no other sales orders. There are only 100 sales orders. Do we need to build a data migration logic or program to migrate 100 sales orders to SAP?
No, sir. Through
No,
internet.
someone will manually create it. Go to
Yes,
VA01, create manually. Since there are only 100 sales orders,
yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
If there are 10,000 sales orders, it is not possible to create manually, right?
Yes, sir.
It is not impossible task, but it will take time, right?
Time.
To
Yes, sir.
create
Time
10,000
requires.
sales orders manually. If there are,
Yes, sir.
if you take Amazon, how many sales orders they used to generate every day? Maybe more than 5, 6 lakhs, right?
Yes, sir.
It is
Yes,
not
sir.
possible, right, to create manually when we have that huge amount of records. For that, we need a automatic process to create the data in SAP. For that, what we use? This data migration
Data
techniques
migration.
to migrate that bulk data from legacy systems to SAP. There are different techniques available. So what are the data migration techniques?
BDC,
Yeah, BDC, batch data communication or batch
BAPI.
data conversion.
Yes, sir.
We have
BAPI.
BAPI function modules. We can use BAPI function modules also to migrate non-SAP data into SAP.
Yes, sir.
And we have
Tables.
LSMW, but it is generally these LSMWs will be used by functional people to do some test runs or to create some test data. The other approach, direct table update, right?
Yes, sir.
Direct table update. Here you need to create a custom program and you need to write database statements, right? So these are the different BDC techniques available to migrate the data from legacy systems to SAP.
SAP system.
But how you are going to pass the data, legacy system data, in the form of a file.
Word.
So we collect the data from legacy systems into files. That might be a notepad file, Excel file, or
Yes,
CSV
sir.
nothing but comma separated. Okay, comma separated files. And we need to upload this file into SAP, right?
Yes, sir.
So first the program should convert file
Filing internal table.
into internal table records. Then we do some validations on the data, the internal table data, and that data should be executed through
Data migration.
data migration. That might be any of the above techniques.
Okay, sir.
These data migration techniques might be anything. That might be a BDC, BAPI, LSMW, or
Direct table.
direct table update. If it is LSMW, we don't need a program. Okay. But if it is BDC, BAPI, or direct table update, first we need to convert that file data into
Internal
internal table.
table.
The file can be a local file or application server file. What is local file and what is application server file? The file which is in your system, your local system, is a local file, right? For example, if you save some Excel file in your laptop, that is local to your laptop. No others cannot access it, right?
Sir.
Other
Yes, sir.
systems cannot access your file, which is stored in your laptop. That is a local file. What is application server file? Application server files will be posted in a shared folder, some FTP folders. We can also call some shared folders, right?
Yes, sir.
So whoever have access to that directory, they can access that file from anywhere. Okay, we call that as FTP, file transfer protocol servers. So if you have authorization, user ID and password, you can access that file. The file can be a local file or application server file.
Application server file.
We cannot see, for example, if you run your program in background every day automatically to create the data in SAP, we cannot do that using local files because background jobs cannot accept local files. At that time, application server files are suitable, right? I'll explain in detail about application server files. So we can post file into application server using SAP ABAP, or we can read the file from application server using
Application server.
SAP ABAP.
SAP.
Okay. Posting the file to application server is outbound processing. Which processing?
Go.
Outbound, sending the data to other system in the form of file.
Yes.
When we are reading the data from application server using ABAP program, that is
Inbound.
inbound. We are receiving the data from external systems in the form of file. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we are exchanging the data in the form of file. One is outbound, another one is inbound.
Inbound.
So when we are talking about interfaces in SAP, outbound means we are sending the data to
Running the
other system.
application.
Inbound means we are receiving the data from other system
Other
to
system
SAP.
to SAP.
There are different types of interfaces. We'll discuss interfaces later, but file is one of the interface. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So when we are working on data migration programs, the input can be in a local file or that can be in a
Application service.
application server folder.
Application service.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can we run a data migration program using local file in background as a job, as a background job?
No,
No.
Hmm.
We can only run manually. We cannot execute in background as a scheduled job to run it daily or to run it weekly because program cannot select the local file. Okay. Background jobs can select a program from application servers. So whatever the report programs we have created as of now, right? How we executed those programs? Is it in foreground or background? As of now, we executed all of them in foreground.
Oh,
Foreground. So we can also execute them in
oh,
background. We can schedule as a job so that every day that program will execute at that certain point of time, whatever the time or frequency we set. Okay.
yes, sir.
We'll see when we are working on the background jobs. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
what is prerequisite to run the data migration program? First, we need to convert the file into internal table data. Okay.
Sir.
For Excel CSV text files, we have function modules or class methods to convert the file into internal table. For that, what we need to do in program, we need to prepare a structure, type structure or a data dictionary structure, which is compatible with the fields in the file. Okay. For example, in your file, you have MPID. Let's assume this is the separator. This is the separator. MP name, salary. This is your file. Let's assume these are the values. 100. Let's assume this is your text file with some data. Now, to convert this data into internal table, what you need to
Yes,
do in the program, you need to create a structure, type structure with reference to this file. How many fields that type structure should contain?
three
3.
Three.
sheets.
Employee name, sorry, employee ID, employee name and salary
Salary.
with relevant data type.
Data.
Okay,
Yes.
that is very important. Order also important. Type structure fields order.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, okay. After processing your file, the data is in one internal table. Now you need to run the BDC technique, right? Or sorry, data migration technique, right? Let's
Yes.
assume we are executing BDC.
Migration.
Technique.
Let's assume we are using BDC. But why we need to go for BDC? Since we have four different options: BDC, BAPI, LSMW, and direct table update. Why I should choose BDC? When we are going to choose BDC?
When there is a bulk data record.
We have bulk data records. That's why we are creating data migration program, right?
Okay.
But we have different techniques, right? We have
sir.
BDC, we have BAPI, we have LSMW, and we have direct table update. So how we are going to choose when you need to use which technique?
It's good to have to
Please please remember, it's very important point. Out of all these techniques, BAPI is the preferable data migration technique we should
yes,
use because it will directly update the database tables and it will perform all the validations inside the BAPI function module. But why do we don't go for BDC? For BDC, we need to record the screen. In BAPI, we don't need to record the screen. For example, you need to create a sales order. In BDC, what you need to do? First, you need to
record this.
record the transaction, VA01 transaction with some test record. And then we are going to repeat same steps for all the records. Okay. So for BDC, screen recording is necessary. So what is the transaction code we use for recording?
SHDB.
SHDB. SHDB is the transaction code for screen recording for BDC programs. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So to use BDC program, first we need to record the screen and we are going to simulate same steps for all the records.
All the
If there are 1 lakh records, we are going to repeat same steps 1 lakh times. Okay.
yes,
When
sir.
we are using BDC programming. For example, to create a table, what I'll do? I'll go to S11,
Yes, sir.
enter the table name, click on create, provide the description,
Yes, sir.
provide the data class, provide the fields and select the primary key. This is the step, right, to create the table. And we maintain the technical settings and we need to click on save and we need to click on activate
Click
button
on the
so
photo.
that table will be activated. These are the
Sir.
steps we need to follow, right, to create a table.
Sir.
Similarly, to create a sales order, we go to VA01. So enter the type, sales order type, provide the required data and click on save. Then that sales order will be created, right? This is the manual process. So we record this manual process using SHDB and we repeat same process for all the records. Okay. So here BDC uses screen processing. So whatever the steps you are following manually, BDC program will automatically run the same steps. Okay. But instead of you, the BDC program will execute on behalf of you.
Based
Okay.
on the recording.
Based on the recording, based on the recording steps.
Yes,
It
sir.
will automatically populate the data to the screen fields and it will click on that next button and the program will click on the save button, right? The program will do all that manual steps. That is what BDC programming. So here, every time it will open a transaction code, it will enter the data, click on save. For every record, the same process will continue.
Repeat.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So in BDC, we have two techniques call transaction. Second one is
Session method.
session method. So usually call transaction is faster than session method. But if you have very few amount of records, we go for call transaction. But if you have bulk records, huge amount of records, we go for session method because we have implicit error handling, inbuilt error handling in session method. But we don't have inbuilt error handling in call
Call
transaction. Still,
transaction.
we can handle the errors using a separate structure, that is BDC MSG COLL structure. So that is about BDC. So we can use call transaction or session method. Both will follow the screen process, screen recording. Okay. Now,
Sir.
when we use BAPI,
Using a screen record
here you
processor.
don't need to use screen processing. First, convert the file data into internal table, loop that records, call a BAPI function module inside that loop for each record. You know, right, how to pass the data to internal function modules,
Yes, sir.
how to pass importing, exporting parameters. You know, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
BAPI is nothing but a function module. So we're going to pass data to function module
Function.
and it will create the data in SAP tables. It won't need any screen recording. So
Okay,
always
sir.
remember BAPI is the preferable approach, but BAPI should be provided by SAP. But that BAPI should be already available in SAP system.
Yes,
For
yes.
example, to create the sales order, to change the sales order, to create the purchase order, to change the purchase order, to display the purchase order. Like this, for different functionalities, SAP has provided standard BAPI function modules. All the BAPI function module name starts with BAPI.
Happy.
If BAPI is already available, we can just use BAPI. If
Happy.
BAPI is not available in the system for that particular functionality, then we go for BDC.
BD.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
But every time we need to make sure that before going to implement the BDC, you need to double check there is no BAPI available for that current functionality to create that data. Then only you have to go to
Babies.
BDC. Okay.
Yes.
Because here we record the screen, right? Maybe after few months, someone enhanced the screen. Someone did some changes to the screen. Someone added some new fields to the screen. What will happen? You have
The screen
recorded the
recording
steps,
will.
right?
Yes,
That
yes,
recording
sir.
is not going to work.
Okay, sir.
Again, you have to make the changes according to that requirement.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes, whenever the system upgrades happen, right? New versions released, right? There might be changes in program names and screen numbers. At that time also, your BDC program may not work properly,
Yes, sir.
right? So
Yes, sir.
always check for BAPI. If BAPI is not available, then go for
Ladies.
BDC program. Since BAPI uses direct table update, there is no delay in opening the transaction code, populating the data, and click on save, right? BAPIs are faster. When we go for direct table update, when we don't have a screen for that application, we just have some tables, right? For example, if you take VA01, in backend there is a program. For that program, we have a front end screen so that we are able to record the screen and enter the data, and we are clicking on the save and it will save the data in the SAP tables. But let's assume we don't have a screen. We have some custom tables. We don't have any application created for that custom tables. Then we cannot record the screen, right, to enter the data. Correct?
So we
At
can
that time, what we do? We directly update the data into tables using direct to table update. That might be
Update.
insert or modify statements we can use. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
But usually data migration programs we use only at like at the time of implementations, right? We execute these data migration programs to create the data. But still, even in support projects also, we use data migration programs to create some business data automatically. Okay. For example, we are receiving some records, some purchase order records from external system. Still, that external system is running somewhere in some other department, and we need to maintain or we need to sync that data with SAP. What we need to do? So that system will send all the purchase orders created in the form of file. So we receive that file and we run the data migration program to create those records. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Let's check one BAPI. All the BAPI will start with BAPI
Mapping.
underscore. All these are function modules, BAPI function module. If you check this, BAPI bank create, this is to create the bank data, bank master data. What you can find here? General normal
include
function module only, right? But what type of function module it is?
Not enable.
Remote enabled
remote
function
and
module. It is a very, very, very
RFC.
important interview question. Difference between RFC and BAPI. Both RFC and BAPIs are remote enabled function modules only. But what is the difference? In BAPIs, if you go to exceptions, do you have exceptions here? No.
Yes, sir.
BAPIs cannot contain exceptions because
Exceptions.
BAPIs can be called by third-party systems also, non-SAP systems also. They cannot understand exceptions. Okay.
Okay,
But in
sir.
SAP,
Yes, sir.
we can handle the exceptions using sub-RC values, right?
Yes, sir.
But to make it useful in non-SAP systems, we are not using exceptions in the BAPIs. That is the main difference. There is no exceptions available in
Exceptions.
BAPI, but we might have exceptions in RFC function modules.
RFC.
Also, if you check one more difference, check the importing parameter on their corresponding structure. Field names. If you observe these field names, they are in plain names, right? Correct? Not like Matner, VBL, and like that. You can understand
Yeah.
this, right? Bank country, bank
Bank.
name.
Yes, sir.
If you check the
Magazines.
corresponding table, this is banks. I think banks is the field. So actually, this is a data element. You should find the same field name when you go to the table, bank master data table. Do you know what is banks? Without this description, can you say that? What is banks?
Yes.
What is
No,
Yes.
sir.
BANKK? Do you know what is this?
No, sir.
Without looking at the description, can you say what is this? No, right? We don't know. Here in BAPI function modules, we maintain understandable names, plain names in parameters, importing, exporting, and changing parameters. Okay, because BAPIs can be accessible by third-party systems. Do they understand what is Matner?
No, sir.
Yes.
Do they understand what is Land 1? No,
No,
right?
sir.
Since you know SAP, you can understand. Okay, Matner is a material number, Land 1 is a country. When some Java guy is calling your BAPI to read the data, BAPI is nothing but a API. It's a API to read the or to exchange the data, right? So for that reason, we maintain some plain names in the BAPI parameters. That is one more difference. And also BAPIs will be available in if you go to transaction code BAPI, all BAPI function modules will be listed in the BAPI transaction code.
Yes, sir.
They are available as business objects here. By functionality wise, you will be having BAPI function modules. Okay. So what is this get list? BAPI material get list. So this is a BAPI to read the materials. Okay. So this is the BAPI you can use to read the materials. Okay. So all the BAPIs will be available in BAPI function
Happy
modules.
module.
That is the difference between RFC and BAPI. But both are RFC function modules only.
Remove.
Okay. It's a very important interview question. You should remember. Okay. Then in the next session, first we'll learn how to upload files into SAP internal tables and how to run BDC programming. Quickly, I'll show you recording, how to do recording. What is the transaction code for BDC recording?
Yes, sir.
DB. Create a new recording. What is the transaction code you want to record? For example, I want to record
BA0.
MM01 or MM02, changing material. You can also change by using BDC programs. You can also change the records. Okay. Run the start recording. I want to run MM02. Start recording. Okay, it is calling the transaction code. Enter the material. I don't know is it available or not. But every step it will record. If you press enter, if you press any button, it will record the steps. Select the basic data, click on continue. I did some changes, click on save. Someone someone kept the breakpoint. I think it's me. Okay. Yeah, this is your recording. These are the steps. What is equal to enter? ENTR. BDC OK code. OK code nothing but action. If you click on save, if you click on enter, that will consider it as OK code. Equal to enter means for enter, pressing enter. Here if you see equal to BU. Equal to BU is for save. This action is for save. Okay. So these are the values. Screen field and value. Screen field and the corresponding value. So we have to use these recording steps to create a BDC program. Okay. So these are the program and corresponding screen. And in that screen, what are the options you selected? Then navigated to the next screen. And what are the options you selected? So here I selected the tab 1, right? 0, 1 equal to X. Navigated to next screen, and what are the options I selected? Okay, so click on save and go back. Now I'll show you. I've created the recording, right? Now we need to create a program, right? BDC program. By using this recording, you can automatically generate a program. You can automatically generate a program. You need to select the option. What is the input? From where you are going to get the records? Is it from file or transfer from recording? I'll select the file option. Okay. So here you can pass the file name also. For now it is not required. What type of program it is going to generate? A report program. ZMOMM02 program. Go to which transaction code? SC38 and open the program. Change it. I'm not changing anything. Let's try to execute it. So these are the options. One option for session, one option for call transaction. You can select any of these methods, right? So this option they have provided for file selection. Actually, we need to do few modifications as per our functionality. If you observe here, what is this? Type structure is created for the fields, whatever we need to pass. Okay. So this should be your file structure. Whatever the data you are passing in your file, you need to adjust this structure as per your requirement. This is the BDC process. Where it is running? For each record. Actually, it is taking it as application server file. That's why it is taking. Otherwise, we need to loop at it underscore data into some w underscore data. So the data values, whatever the values we need to pass, right, for BDC recording. For example, where is the value? One value. Let's take one value. Where is the text? MAKTX. Here. What you need to pass here? This one. Hyphen MAKTX. The data will come from file. You need to update all these values. Depends on your requirement. Okay. Clear? So you don't need even write a program. It will automatically generate a program. You can do the adjustments. Okay.
Okay.
But we are going to write a program so that you can understand how that program is going to work. Then you can generate the programs easily and you can do the changes. Right? Then you can come to know what options I need to keep in the generated program and what options you don't need. Okay. First we'll create programs manually. Then you can start using the automatic generated programs. Okay. So in the next session, we are going to create programs using BDC and BAPI. In BDC, we have two techniques, call transaction and session method. The alternative for BDC is BAPI. Okay.
Okay.
So it's very important. You'll definitely get interview questions from BDC programming and difference between BDC and BAPI. And what is the preferable method for data migration? Is it BDC or BAPI? What is the differences between call transaction and session method? That is also a very, very important interview question. So when we are discussing about BDC, we'll discuss the differences. When we go for call transaction, when we go for session, and what are the differences. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that's about data migration. We'll create the objects. We'll create the programs on data migration.